Have you ever wondered, can we really communicate with animals, even after they've passed? What if we could tap into a world of intuition we're all born with but rarely explore? Welcome back to the Magical Professions podcast, where we explore the extraordinary, the mystical, and the awe-inspiring professions that bridge worlds, seen and unseen. Today, we ride into the realm of the Cowgirl Shaman herself, Terri Jay. For over 35 years, Terri has helped thousands of people and their beloved pets through the intuitive messages she receives. Whether connecting with animals here or beyond, reaching those who can no longer speak for themselves, or guiding people through challenges in love, health, and finances, Terri has made it her life's mission to channel higher vibrations into everyday healing. And you may have even seen her on your screen, Terri appearing as herself in Paul T. Goldman, the mind-bending series from the creators of Borat's subsequent movie film and The Disaster Artist. So saddle up and join us as we dive into a conversation about intuition, healing, animal communication, and what it means to awaken the magical senses we all carry within us. Let's welcome the incredible Terri Jay, the Cowgirl Shaman. Oh, welcome, Terri. It's a great pleasure to have you on our podcast. Thank you so much for coming. And can you please introduce yourself and let our listeners know where you're joining us from what part of the world? Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to work with you. The background to my picture is where I live. I live in the beautiful Carson Valley. Those mountains are the Sierra Nevadas. And on the other side of those mountains is beautiful Lake Tahoe, California, and Nevada. The lake is divided down the middle. So part of it's in California and part of it's in Nevada. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous area. And those mountains are all snow-covered now.
Yes, it is amazing. It is beautiful. I still want to visit. Haven't been there yet, but it's on my agenda. And as in our podcast, we're exploring the worlds of both seen and unseen, magical, in a way, mystical. Maybe you can share something mystical about the place where you live, about Nevada.
Oh, I think one of the most incredible things about this place is the Native American influence. It's just huge. And we have 3 Native American tribes here, and it's the culture here with Native Americans is just very strong. And I really like it. It's really cool.
Are there any particular places that you would recommend for people to explore if they come to Nevada to start feeling that connection with the Native Americans and their culture?
Well, they do have a museum, and they have they're called powwows here. In other parts of the country, they're called wachipis. But they have beautiful powwows and lots of dancing and cultural food and handmade jewelry and beadwork. And so you have to find out when one of those festivals is going to be on and then attend it. They're just great.
Yes. I remember this is how my journey into the United States started many, many years ago. I came first time to California, which is a neighbor, yes?
Yes.
For you. I was sitting for the first time on the coast of the Pacific Ocean, and I had this vision that underneath the cemented roads, there are fires and groups of people, of Native American people sitting around them. It's kind of, yes, we have our civilization, we have these new contemporary things, but still the fire of intuition, something that still supports all the places here, it's still there. It's just a little hidden under everything we built, but it's still present. It was absolutely amazing feeling of that culture still being here, still being present, and still keeping that fire alive.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing to experience that culture. It really is. They were here first, is what I want to say. They were here first.
Yeah.
So it's just nice that we get to participate with that. And we live in such a gorgeous, gorgeous area, and there's stuff to do year round here. There's water skiing, there's snow skiing, there's hiking, there's gorgeous mountain trails. There's a trail system that actually goes all the way from Mexico all the way up to Canada that goes around Lake Tahoe too. And it's just an amazing place to live. The place feels magical to me. It really does.
Yes, yes. And maybe this place influenced in a way the abilities that you developed. Maybe you can share with our listeners your path into becoming an intuitive.
Yeah, I was born back east. I'm from northeastern Ohio, and I lived there, I think, until I was 21, something like that. And family moved out here, so I followed suit. And I lived in Vegas for 11 years, which I don't recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've been up here since 86. I feel like this is my home. And I know I've had past life experiences here, too, that have been very mystical. But what was happening with me is I was doing a horseback therapy program with disabled kids, and I heard a handicapped child, a nonverbal child. And when I had it pointed out to me, because I wasn't paying attention, I was just carrying on a conversation with him like you and I are, only he wasn't talking out loud. And so once I had it confirmed, then the suggestion was made to learn to communicate with the horses because all animals are telepathic. And so one thing has led to another, and now I know there's no limits to this. My favorite things to do are communicate with competition horses, either hunter jumpers, dressage. I do a lot of barrel horses. I have a lot of clients in the barrel horse world. And I still do a lot of rope horses, reining horses, stuff in the Western fields too. And of course, I've even communicated with the bucking bulls. When they're not bucking as hard or as well as they should be, the owners get concerned. And so, I find the pain issues on them and make recommendations on what they can do to alleviate the pain. And then the bulls go back to bucking and they love it. They just absolutely love it. Mm-hmm. People think, oh, it's cruel, it's mean. No, it's not. It's really fun for them. They really like it, believe it or not. So now I just do everything by phone. I do it all over the world. And the other things that's come up recently because of this podcast called the Telepathy Tapes is I'm communicating with nonverbal autistic people, kids and adults. I mean, that's how I got my start, was hearing a nonverbal child. So it's very just real easy for me to do that. And the stuff that I share is just, I think some of the parents have just been mind blown at the information that comes through. I'm still mind blown at the information that comes through. I just talked to a client that said, chiropractor was here, nailed every single part of the horse where the horse was out. And so now this horse that was fractious and fretful and very upset all the time, he's just mellowed out and he's just happy again because he doesn't have any pain. So it's very gratifying to be able to do this work and to help people solve the problems with their animals. And I do the same thing with the people, relationships, finances, health, all of it.
How do you think this telepathy happened?
Well, I heard that first child. And when I started this back in 1990, there were no books. I mean, it's a cottage industry now, including my books, but there were no books to teach you how to do this. And even if you could find them, they were like mystical, like, ooh. And me studying and delving into physics and quantum physics, it was like forehead smack. Like, oh, this is just physics. It's not woo-woo stuff. Because everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. So it just makes sense. So when people get trained to do this kind of work, all we're doing is picking up on vibrations and frequencies that other people miss. That's it. It's that simple. And when people say, oh, they're trying to prove telepathy, I say, why? It's real. It exists. We have confirmation of it. I don't understand it.
So how do you respond to those people who are still hesitant to accept telepathy or maybe are even sometimes saying things against it?
This is not satanic or anything like that. Yeah. It's just frequency. That's all it is. And everything in the universe is frequency and vibration and energy. So there's no way I'm going to prove this to people that don't want to believe in it. And so those are not my clients. My clients are those that kind of think, I've heard about this and it might work. So I want to give it a try. And those are the people that become long-term clients. I've had clients that they've been working with me for 35 years. They still call me when there's an issue, when there's a problem, when they need clarity. And so it's just, to me, it's just normal everyday stuff. When going out in public is really a challenge for me because I pick up on so much. But other than that, and I really can't listen to music, I just live a pretty normal life. I'm out there shoveling manure in every morning, cleaning stalls and corrals and feeding my horses 3 times a day. And so my life is pretty normal. I wouldn't consider it strange except for what I do for a living.
Yes, and that's interesting. This is one of the questions that I had for you, because you mentioned it's a little difficult for you when there are too many people because you are picking up on lots of stuff. So how does it work for you? Do you pick up on everything? For example, I'm sitting and you're already picking on certain things, or you can kind of let everything alone until you have a question or somebody is asking you to say something?
When I'm out in public, I really just try not to make eye contact.
Yeah.
Because if I make eye contact, I know everything about them.
Mm-hmm.
And some of it's not real pretty. So I just really try not to make eye contact when I'm out in public. So when I'm working with my clients, I have like a 7-step process that I go through. And the only part that I don't have is I don't have an on and off switch. Mm-hmm. I'm out all the time. But the only time I'm off is when I'm sleeping, I hope, because I still know I get stuff when I'm sleeping. And so I really make sure that I teach people how to have an on and off switch. Mm-hmm. And I do a 3-point connection because it's a point of physics. Anytime there's 3 points, energy can flow. Mm-hmm. And it's all done with just visualization and intention. And then it starts flowing. There isn't one of us that hasn't thought about somebody that we haven't seen or heard from in a long time. Mm-hmm. And the phone rings and it's that person. Yeah. So who sent who the message? Without a cell phone. Somebody sent somebody the message going, hey, I haven't talked to you in so long. And boom, you got a connection. So everybody's doing it. And we're born with intuition, clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, and claircognizance. Clair just means clear. So we have clear seeing, clear hearing, clear feeling, clear knowing. That's all it means. And intuition. And all of those things together are what make us telepathic. I don't think trying to learn just telepathy is even appropriate. Because it's like a lot of the autistic kids that I'm talking to now, their whole world is based on smell. Yeah. And you think of us, we're trying to get rid of smells, disguise smells, you know what I mean? Where we don't want to have our own body odors. Mm-hmm. And these kids, the first thing they give me is smells and visual images. And the words are so obscure and abstract for them. And a lot of those kids, if they're going to do letterboard writing, it's like spelling to speak, is I think how they say it. Please forgive me if that's wrong. Yeah. But they want the letters in color. Black and white bothers some of them. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. So, and they're a lot of them are so right-brained, so creative. Mm-hmm. This has just been an incredible adventure. And my greatest joy is teaching these skills to others so that they can develop them and then have this knowledge and these abilities, because it sure comes in handy.
And you mentioned those messages that all of us receive from one point or another point. And I know some experiences I had, for example, if I'm sleeping and I have somebody in my dream, and then I suddenly wake up and I see a message on my phone from a person. Mm-hmm. Would that be an appropriate comparison?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I think is so cool is when people that are non-physical energy beings, these are people that are no longer alive, as we would say, when they come and give you a visitation. And a visitation is like you are there with them. They are there with you. Mm-hmm. And everything is vivid. That's what's called a visitation. So it's like you're sort of meeting in the middle. Mm-hmm. So you're amping up your vibration so you're closer to the other side, and they're dropping their vibration down a little bit so you can meet in the middle. And that stuff is real. It's real.
And some people consider that there are certain points throughout the year when those worlds of unseen get a little bit closer, when that border between them becomes thinner and it's easier for us to receive those messages. Do you notice this in your own practice, that sometimes it's no?
No.
So you feel it all the time?
All the time. I think it has to do with intention. Mm-hmm. What is your intention? Are you intending to connect to them? Mm-hmm. Your intention has to be really pure. Yeah. And it means getting rid of ego. Ego means easing God out. Mm. So you have to just have a pure desire to make this connection. And with just a couple pieces of information, I can connect to anybody who's a non-physical being again. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, it's so fun, the stuff they tell me. A lot of people don't realize, and even some of the TV mediums don't realize this, that we still have to look at physics when we think about life and death. So we're 99% energy in a 1% meat suit. We're running around in little meat suits, right? So when our physical body can no longer sustain life, we return to being a pure positive energy being. So everything negative, pain, suffering, unfinished business, regrets, all that negative stuff gets shed off and left behind in the earthly realm because it's not a vibrational match to the other side, right? Now, if you're a medium, you can tune into that shed off negative energy. And because it looks like, feels like, and sounds like the deceased, you can mistakenly share information from that garbage as if it is how the person is on the other side.
I see.
And it's just not true. These mediums don't have discernment. And that's the ability to tell the difference between positive and negative energy. And so they share this negative stuff like, oh, they haven't crossed over and they're suffering. And, oh, they had so much unfinished business. And so they're basically dumpster diving. That's what they're doing. They're dumpster diving in the shed off negative energy and sharing it mistakenly as if it is how the person is. And if you tapped into the person's energy on the other side, they're all happy campers. They all look like they're 20, they're gorgeous, they're happy, and they don't have any negative memories, none. And the other thing too, they can't see anything negative in the earthly realm. I've had so many clients go, oh, I need to talk to my mom because she's going to tell me what to do. And I go, no, she's not, because she can't see your problems. All she does is send you love. That's it. They can't see anything negative in the earthly realm. So anytime you go, oh, I miss you so much, they don't hear you. The minute you say, I love you, they're saying, I love you back. Isn't that cool?
It is cool. It is cool. I'm just a little concerned with the fact that they don't have any negative memories, or you mean that they reversed all those negative memories into positives as a valuable experience?
Yeah, they would take with them the knowledge of how they just have to shed it off. It can't go to the other side because it's not a vibrational match. If they gain knowledge from those negative experiences, of course they would have that with them. Minus the negative experience or pain or suffering or anything. But everybody on the other side is fine. I don't have to do readings to tell people that they're all fine, and they've got all the dogs and the cats and the horses and the pigs, and everybody's with everybody else on the other side. There's only one frequency they can go to. There aren't multiple frequencies. So when people pass, they become that new frequency, and everyone else that's non-physical is in the same frequency. It's not a place. I mean, that's kind of hard for people to understand is, they're going to heaven. Well, it's not a place, it's a frequency, like changing a radio dial. That makes it seem more logical.
So in your understanding, or the way you feel, it's just one frequency for everyone?
For everyone that's passed, yes. And I'm going to say a double negative here, so I apologize, but I've never not been able to connect to somebody. Never. They're all at the same frequency, so I must automatically tune to that frequency. But with just a person's name, age of passing, what they did for a living, maybe the relationship they had, boom, I got them every time.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to brag.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's that freaking easy.
Yeah.
It's that easy to connect to them. I have coffee with my mom every morning at 8:00 because she lived in Vegas, and that's when we'd call. We'd call every morning, 8:00, and we'd be up and see what was going on. And now she's so funny because, I don't have to call her. She's right here. And she always says, what are we doing today? And I go, what, do you got a mouse in your pocket? I'm working. What are you doing? Right?
Yes. But Terri, why is it so then that other people do not feel this connection, that ease of connecting with people, even here in our world, nonverbal people, not to say with people from other unseen world? What is the reason behind it?
Oh, yes, I can. I teach it all the time. I actually wrote a book called The Physics of Mediumship. And the reason I wrote that is I wanted to take all the woo-woo crap out of this. This shouldn't be mystical. It should be ordinary.
Okay. Can you tell more? Yes, about that?
And I've taught so many people how to do this. And most of it is having no ego, having no expectations, getting out of your own way, learning to ground. That can be time consuming, learning to ground. And then making a 3-point connection, which you do with visualization and intention. You connect heart chakra, and then third eye to heart chakra. And it's a point of physics. Anytime you have 3 points, energy can flow. Mm-hmm. And so that's how you make that connection to your loved ones that have passed, whether it's an animal or a human. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ex-animal or ex-human, right? And you'll just be shocked at what comes through. And the other thing too, and this is really, really important, most people don't understand how fast telepathic intuitive communication is. You and I are having a conversation. I talk, you wait. You talk, I wait, right? We're being polite. Well, telepathy and intuitive communication is over the top. It sounds mentally like this. Yeah. Hey, did you? Yeah. Well, what about? Are you going to? Mm-hmm. See how fast that is? Mm-hmm. So if you get too much into your question or your statement or your yippee yapping, you're going to miss it. You're absolutely going to miss it. And so listening faster is probably the key to give people so that they can start doing this communication. And the ironic part is when people get stuff really fast, that's when they don't trust it because it flew into their head. And so it's like, oh, that was too fast. That's probably not right. That's the stuff you need to trust.
Is it similar to how people communicate when they live together for many, many years? And
yes.
Yeah, it's just enough to start saying something and the person is already responding to you.
Yes.
So it's that fast.
I do that with my husband all the time. And he'll come home and he'll go, I stopped at Tractor Supply and got this. And I go, yeah. I didn't tell you to get that. He goes, well, yeah, you did. Oh, no, I didn't. Mm-hmm. So he just picks it up. Mm-hmm. And I don't even text him or nothing. And he just comes home with whatever I thought. Oh, we're out of sweet feed, or we need horse treats or dog treats or something. He comes home with it. It's like, I didn't tell you to do that. So that happens a lot.
Yes. And you mentioned it like real communication, messaging, calling, basically on the phone. And it reminded me of a book by Clifford Simak, or Clifford Simak, differently people name him. And he has a book, Time is the Simplest Thing. And in this book, people here in the States, he was from the United States, they were communicating with each other. They called it long calls. So when the phone wasn't available, those telepathic intuitives, they were able to communicate with each other from the distance and convey messages to each other.
Oh, yeah. That happens all the time. And you just have to understand it's just frequency. And some people are in receiving mode and others, they're just not open to it yet.
Do you see any changes that are happening in general with people in these times? Do you see more people being open to receiving?
Oh, yeah. And I think the communication with autistic people is really opening up a wonderful can of worms. Mm-hmm. I mean that in a really positive way, because it's like, what if this is real? People can hear thoughts and over and over and over again, they're proving that it's real. Mm-hmm. And so I think people are going, well, maybe this isn't just BS or woo-woo stuff. Yeah. And I think people are starting to use it more. And the animal communication industry and field is huge now. Back when I started 35 years ago, I only knew of 3 people that did it in the United States. Mm-hmm. And so now there's hundreds, maybe even thousands of people that do just animal communication. And I think people that do just animal communication are missing the boat, because there's so many times when you have issues with the pet, that's really the human's problem. Mm. And so you really need to be able to tune into the human's issues too. Yeah. I think that's really important. So that's why I just started doing everything. Yeah. The only things I won't do are predictions and police work. Yeah. Police work is so negative, I just can't do it. And predictions, to me, because of the law of attraction, they're completely unethical. Yeah. You can't do predictions because of how the law of attraction works. You know, if somebody was working really hard at something and they asked me about it and I said, oh, yes, I see that coming to fruition. Then they can say, well, Terri said it was going to happen, so I'm just going to quit working so hard at it. Yeah. And then it doesn't happen and I'm, the poop head. And the same thing with negative stuff. If I see somebody getting in an accident, I go, watch out in traffic for white vans. Always be wary if you see white vans. And of course, they're so amped up worrying about white vans, they will pull in an accident with a white van. Yeah. They will. Yeah. That's how the law of attraction works.
Very interesting. And I 100% agree with you. I don't like predictions. I think we're all building our life and should continue doing that without any predictions.
No.
That's very important.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody calls me, they schedule an appointment, you can schedule on my website.
Yeah.
If somebody schedules with me and they say, tell me what you see, I stop the reading and I refund the money. Oh, we ain't playing that game.
Yeah.
No freaking way. Because what they want is predictions.
Yeah.
And I tell them I don't do predictions. Well, I'm not asking for a prediction. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
Mm-hmm.
So I just stop it. I just won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have that expectation. They think I'm a psychic. Oh, and I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an intuitive. I hate the word psychic. Psychic means not of the physical sciences. Mm-hmm. And all of my work is based in a physical science, physics. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't fit. Mm-hmm. I can't even stand that word when people use it. And it has such a bad rap too. Oh my Lord. Mm-hmm. It's got such a bad rap to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know why anybody in this day and age would use that. They could be a medium. Mm-hmm. They could be an intuitive. Those are appropriate. But mediums talk with people and animals that have passed. Developing intuition and the clairs, as I call them, oh my goodness, it just opens up whole new worlds for you. And most of it is good. Most of it is good.
Would you define intuitive? What is intuitive for you?
Information that is received without conscious thought. That's what I would say.
And what is the difference between intuitive and psychic then?
Well, people that claim that they're psychic, they're all into the woo-woo. And it's like they're gifted, they're special. No, it's just inappropriate. Mm-hmm. It's like they can do something that everybody else can't. They're special. Maybe short bus special, but they're not special. Mm-hmm. So it's just an inappropriate word anymore because anybody that's doing this should be basing it in physics. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because that's so appropriate and accepted.
You're dealing a lot with that world of unseen, with those spirits, yes, people on another side.
It's still energy. That's the thing, though.
Energy.
It's still energy. Mm-hmm. And I don't call it unseen because I can see it. Everything's...
Can see it?
Everything is, to me, that is non-physical, looks like a golden hologram. Yeah. That's how that looks to me, is like a golden hologram. So I'm still seeing it. Because I get such impressions especially when I'm communicating with people on the other side. Yeah. I get such an impression and I'll share that impression. Yeah. And it's like, I don't see a face, but I see that they're good looking. Like features there's a thing where your features should be in a certain way and in order to be considered attractive. And I just get this impression from them that I've said, oh, he's such a nice, mellow guy, just laid back and everything's good. And just laid back. And they'll go, yeah, that's how he was. And I'll turn around and go, God, she is so full of piss and vinegar. She's so high energy. She's going 100 miles an hour all the time, doing 8 things at one time. And they go, oh, yeah, that's how she was. So it's just fun to get those impressions of people. And you don't have to actually see their features, but it's just fun what I get. Oh, my goodness. I just did a barrel horse, I guess about a week ago. The horse was just fractious, just uncontrollable. And I told the gal where the horse hurt and recommended that they get chiropractic and then this microcurrent therapy that's called AccuScope. And I just talked to her again yesterday and she was like, oh my God, I have a new horse. Because this horse was in so much pain that he couldn't focus on anything and he thought everything was going to kill him. And he is so laid back now and quiet and affectionate. They interpret it as a behavioral issue, and it's really just the horse going, I hurt everywhere. And she's following up with some stuff. And she goes, I cannot believe this. I had another person. Their loved one is in a coma, and they couldn't figure out if she had a brain thing that happened and fell and had a head injury. Couldn't figure out which was which. And it was so interesting because I recommended an energy healer, and the person woke up out of the coma. They're fine. It's shocking. It's just shocking. And they're saying we have to disconnect life support and put them on hospice. And like you could see the person going, want to bet? I ain't going anywhere. It's just miraculous. It's really miraculous. I love doing medical intuition too. Medical intuition and veterinary, it's so fun to find out that somebody's got, like IBS, IBD, Crohn's, all those intestinal things that are so painful, right? And annoying. And you find out that they had childhood abuse, and that's the cause of it. And so if they heal the inner child, the disease disappears. It's amazing. It's just amazing. We have to remember we're 99% energy. And, I see a lot of people with head trauma and they don't realize how screwed up their hormones are. And I go, have you ever been to the doctor where you say, my hormones just don't feel right? And can you take a look at them and let's do some blood work? And they go, oh, no, I don't think that's necessary. It's probably this. And never once do they ever ask a person, have you had head trauma? And there's a direct correlation between head trauma and hormones. Direct correlation. Nobody ever asks you that. Have you had head trauma? Because your hormones are messed up. Let's get them fixed. No, it just doesn't happen. Why? And it's because medical professions don't look at the energetic body. They just look at the physical body, which is 1% of who we are. That makes no sense.
That's why I have a question. How do you see people? How is it different from the usual way of seeing people and the world? Or maybe you may not know the difference because you always were that way. I don't know, but maybe you can talk a little bit more about that.
Well, I still am human.
Yes.
And I look at what people are wearing and how their hair is, and they're wearing makeup. And I always look at shoes. I'm really into looking for comfortable shoes all the time. I know that sounds funny, but I see people's shoes and it's like, oh, I could probably wear those. Because most of the time I got cowboy boots on anyway. But so I do look at people normally, but then my guides, pain in the butts that they are, they will always point out health issues to me. They want me to look at it and feel it. Right? And so I can be, shopping at Walmart and they go, look. I'll look and I go, oh, liver. They go, oh, good job. And then they'll point somebody else out and I just hear pedophile. And it's like, you just want to, and there's nothing you can do about it. But they're always teaching me, which I like. I really like that they're always teaching me, teaching me stuff. I've called clients. I've seen on Facebook their horse had a tendon or ligament injury. And I'll contact them and go, can I talk to you for 5 minutes? I want to feel this. I want to feel what this feels like so I can spot it on other horses. And, oh my God, they go, sure. And they call me up and they tell me about their horse. And I go, okay, I got it. I know exactly what this feels like now. And that's it. So a lot of people have really helped me too. And there's something that's new or different. And I'm trying to get a feel for it because I don't diagnose, I don't prescribe, but I can sure tell you what it feels like. And if we even look at cancer, and people are so terrified of cancer and they want to beat it and fight it and burn it out and cut it out. And it's the exact wrong tack to take. Because cancer cells are cells that have forgotten who they are. They contain serious negative energy. Well, when you want to beat it and fight it and burn it out and cut it out, and you're adding to the negativity. If you send love into cancer cells, they die. They stop replicating. But who wants to go around loving their cancer? Nobody wants. It seems oxymoronic, doesn't it? But, you send love energy into it and poof, it disappears. Isn't that amazing? It's too simple. It's just too simple. And I would never go against like a physician that's saying, you have to have surgery and chemo and radiation. I would never go against. If somebody wants to choose that, then I'm right there behind them, supporting them. But God, you got to get to the negative energy of it. We just don't look at the negative energy. If it's like something serious like pancreatic cancer, nobody looks at that it's a power, ego, and control issue. Somebody took your power, or you tried taking other people's power, right? Anything in the heart, breast, chest, that's all heartbreak. Nobody ever talks about heartbreak when you're diagnosed with breast cancer, right?
It's about gallbladder.
Gallbladder is I can't stomach that, whatever that is. Isn't that interesting?
It is. It is. Yeah.
There's always issues in the tissues. Stuff in the throat. Oh my goodness, stuff in the throat. That's from not speaking your truth. But it doesn't mean you're a liar, but that maybe you're not being honest with yourself. So that affects thyroid, parathyroid, carotid, the neck, the bones in the neck. All of that is impacted by not speaking your truth. You think about how many times we just sort of bite our tongue and don't say what we really want to say. Well, what we should do is when we get to an appropriate place, go ahead and write whoever pissed you off a letter, burn it, tell them off and then burn it so you can get rid of it so it's not staying in your throat. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. How do you sense? Do you sense it through smell or through your skin sensation. So what are those sensations when you are looking at people and let's say you're trying to see what's wrong?
I'm usually told by guides
Okay.
what it is, what the problem is.
Okay.
And then they take me there.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll get it myself, but most of the time I'm just listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love my guides. They're such smart asses. They really are. I mean, they really are. But they're kind of hard on me too, because they know what I can do. And I'm in resistance to them a lot of times. But a lot of times they're pointing to something and going, like, are you getting it? It's pretty fun. It's really pretty fun. And I also work with a really great osteopath. And if I ever get medical questions, I just talk to him. Mm-hmm. And I go, here's what I'm feeling and sensing. Mm-hmm. And he goes, okay, well, that makes sense because, and then he'll tell me really what's going on. So he's been great to educate me on medical things, but there's so many times where I just get the word for what it is. I'm given the word. And like somebody will say that they don't have a lot of energy or they're tired all the time, but their heart is racing. And I just hear adrenals. So I recommend they go to their doctor and get blood work done and be sure to focus on adrenal function. And a lot of times it's off. Mm-hmm. And so there's different ways of addressing it. Isn't that cool?
It is. And you still mention feeling and sensing. Yes. How do you feel? What are those sensations when you sense? Mm-hmm.
I would say they're the same as the person. Mm-hmm. I might even feel it in my body. Like, here's where it is. Here's where it hurts. Mm-hmm. I go, oh, I know what that is. Just from so many years of doing this. I've been doing it 35 years. And I'll give you an example. I fell last night. I tripped going into the barn. I just wasn't paying attention. Just wiped out. And I've got 2 artificial hips. And that was my first worry is, oh, God, I've done something to my hip because I landed right on it. But I also had my hand out for what we call protective extension. Mm-hmm. And so only this part of my hand was hurting. And I just heard so clearly from my guides, just bruised. Okay, so put some arnica on it, put some ice on it. And this morning it was fine. Mm-hmm. It's really fun to get that stuff too. Yeah. And to know you're okay. Yeah. And or what you need to do. And I'm not stupid about it. I still go get tests. I go get blood work every 6 months. I'm not stupid about it. Like, well, I don't need any of that stuff. No, I use the diagnostics, but then maybe instead of taking a drug or something, I'm going to go work with an energy healer so I don't need the drug. Mm-hmm. That's huge difference. Or I'll do the energy healing myself if it's something minor. Yeah. It's just different. But when you're connected to people or animals that are here, you're going to maybe feel the same thing that they're feeling. You just have to listen like with your whole being, not just your whole body, but your whole being. And you'll be able to get that and then be able to share that information. Mm-hmm. Like when I was talking to some of the nonverbal autistic kids, they have really bad TMJ. So they don't want to chew because it crackles and pops and the noise is so annoying. And I know of one of them that went to the chiropractor and got it fixed and he's eating regular food now. Mm-hmm. Isn't that bizarre? But up until this point, he didn't want to chew because of the cracking and popping. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Yes. But can you imagine how that cracking and popping in your head when you tried to chew?
It is, because they're very sensitive to loud sounds. Yes. Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
It was just amazing to be able to, here's this child that's only drinking nutritious drinks that have everything in them, but doesn't want to chew. I thought that was so cool. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the parents are clueless, doesn't want to chew because it's got TMJ and it cracks and pops and they hear that and they don't like that noise. I think this stuff can be so helpful. And I hear about from my clients all the time that it's just been miraculous. That's the word they use. It's been miraculous. Yeah. That this big, huge problem no longer is a problem.
Yes. And you also mentioned several times the guides that guide you through the process. So who are they? What do you think? Who are those beings? And when did you connect to them? In what part of your journey did you start communicating?
I think it was a couple of years into it, and I was driving, and a lot of people, the first time they hear their guides, it's in traffic. When you just hear, slow down, and you look up ahead, and there's a radar trap, a speed trap. And then the cool thing is when you think you hear your guides, immediately give thanks. You can just do it in your head. You can just say thank you in your head. Thank you, I hear you. And the more you do that, the louder they get. So that to me is just incredible. So mine was in traffic and it was pull over. They yelled at me, pull over. And I went, okay. And it was so long ago that we had those spiral bound laminated map books. That's how long ago it was. And I stopped and I looked at the address and I looked in the map and I went, oh, I had to turn right like 100 feet ahead. And I don't know where I thought I was going, but if I wouldn't have stopped and then figured out I had to turn, I would have been on the freeway. And it's like, you couldn't get there from there. I'd have to turn around, come all the way back. I was so grateful to them for that information. And I have really great relationships with my guides now because they're so fun. And what I believe a guide is a direct connection to source energy.
Yeah.
But it has a personality, part of your personality, so that you listen because it appeals to you. So there's a gay guy, he's one of my guides, who tells me what to wear all the time. He's wonderful. And you have to remember, I was showing horses as a teenager, and we showed with a gay couple. We never even thought about it. We never thought a thing about it. And they'd help you get dressed to go in the show ring and polish your boots for you once you were on the horse. And it was just, oh my God, they were just so amazing. They were wonderful people. So this gay guy, he tells me what to wear every day, and he's so adorable. I just, oh my God, it's a treasure. And then I have a lady that anytime I'm going to go in the kitchen and cook something new, old stuff, I'm good. But if anytime I'm going to try something new, I'm into baking cookies for some reason now. But anytime I'm going to try something new, I hear her, and she sounds like she's from Minnesota. It's, oh, yeah, you betcha. And that's what I hear when I come in the kitchen to cook. And then I'm sure there's some sort of medical guide who helps me with the medicine stuff. Mm-hmm. It's very serious. And you should know this. What's wrong with you? You should know this. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I know when I write my books, I channel write. Mm-hmm. So I got some writers on board too, because once I sit down to start writing, I can't stop. Mm-hmm. And I hear people having writer's block and I go, what is that like? Because I don't have it. I've got 3 more books on animal communication. And I got 2 novels that are going to turn into screenplays, to turn into movies or TV series. I mean, it's just got lots and lots of writing to do. I can just sit there and just type away and I'm going, what am I writing? And I'm reading it going, oh, this is good stuff. It's not my stuff. It sounds like me, but it's not my stuff. It's so fun.
Yes. And I'm curious, do you think some people are more sensitive to this information from another side or just this intuition, telepathy? And why, if some people are more prone to that than others? Or like you said, everyone basically can do it and there is no difference between people.
I would say everybody has the ability and capacity as long as they don't have any serious cognitive issues. Mm-hmm. I would say everybody has the ability. Mm-hmm. But, because of certain religions, this stuff is terrifying and taboo. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. Don't talk to dead people. Oh, my God. Mm-hmm. And I think the worry was they tell you how wonderful it was. There'd be mass suicides. Mm-hmm. I think that was a concern, especially when things were not rosy like 2,000 years ago, right? If we think about it and it's just physics, it just makes sense. But the other thing that I noticed, you have to be happy with yourself. You need to work on yourself. Because if you're unhappy, if you're miserable, if you have addictions, you're going to have a low vibration. And if you have a low vibration, then this stuff is much more challenging to learn. So the happier you are and the more positive you are, the higher your frequency or vibration is going to be. And then it's just easy peasy. Mm-hmm. I'm a really happy person. This is not an act. I'm this happy and goofy all the time. I really am. And so it's just easy for me because I'm a vibrational match to the other side, really. I mean, or close. Probably if I was a complete match, I'd be on the other side. So I don't want to go there. No, I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
So I think it really has to do with working on yourself, making sure your inner child is happy, healing your inner child if there's been childhood abuse or things, and then doing energy healing on yourself so that you're constantly raising your vibration. Mm-hmm. And what's real fun too is you get what are called initiations. That's when your vibration kicks up a notch. And it's really weird because you want to stick your fingers on those joints. It's where your ribs join your sternum. Mm-hmm. Those will get really sore. And so we find ourselves pushing on them. The other thing that happens is you get little teeny tiny orgasms. You just think, what was that? Not doing anything, right? Not even thinking about it. But you just have little tiny orgasms or arousal. You can even just say arousal and you just think, okay, that was weird. What was that? Is something wrong? And it's like you can hear your guides laughing when that happens. So those are the signs that you get. Some people get headaches when they're going to kick up a notch. And for other people that have constant headaches, their headaches disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So the energy healing is a really important part and aspect of this. We really need to do energy healing on ourselves. And I give energy healing instructions away to anybody who wants it, but it has to be by email, my website. So, but anybody that wants them, I'm happy to share.
Thank you so much. You also mentioned the important component that should not be present. It's an ego. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What do you mean by it and how to train yourself to move it away so that you can receive information freely?
That's a really great question. Thank you for that question. To me, ego means easing God out. And if you're really, really happy with yourself and you're content, even if you're a work in progress, which we all are, then when anyone thinks of you, should be none of your business. And I think that that's really important, is to just be happy and content within yourself. And being content doesn't mean you don't have desires or aspirations to do new things or different things. It just means that in this moment, I am content with who and how I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, you don't have an ego. You're not worried about it. You're not worried about what anybody thinks of you. And having really good self-esteem, loving yourself, is so important. And loving yourself doesn't mean that you can't love anybody else or that you think you're better than anybody else. You're a being of light and love, so you just need to choose to love yourself and not criticize yourself. I mean, I think that's really important. And I think it just takes practice to get out of ego and to catch yourself when you find yourself going, I'm jealous of them. Or why does she have that designer handbag and I don't? And, those kinds of things where we have personal inadequacies. And we just have to work on it to where it's like, hey, that doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I just say if it's life or death, it matters. If it's not life or death, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It releases so much garbage. Oh my God, when you get out of ego. Mm-hmm. And the higher you raise your vibration, less ego you're going to have, really. You can't. They're mutually exclusive. You can't be a high vibration and have an ego. Doesn't work.
Yes, that's not easy, especially at this time. I think so many people are really worried about what others will think.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really funny.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to some of those selling shows on TV where they're selling stuff? Mm-hmm. And oh my God, they go, what will your friends and neighbors think if they see you with this product? Yeah. And it's like, who cares? I want it, I'm going to get it. It has nothing to do with how much is going to impress them. It's really funny. I stopped wearing jewelry a long time ago because the metal picks up frequencies. Mm-hmm. And so it was bothering me to wear jewelry of any kind. And so I stopped wearing jewelry because it was like people going, aren't you married? Yes. Where's your ring? I don't wear one. Nobody's going to hit on me. I'm not worried about that. I'm older than dirt, right? But it's just funny to just get to where it's like, oh, I want a big rock to wear under people's noses. No. It's just the important things become important and nothing else matters. Really, that's how it is, I think.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you mentioned that metals, they pick up frequencies. And I also started feeling several years ago, maybe 5 already, I cannot wear jewelry. Before that, there was no a time that I wouldn't go and wouldn't put jewelry on. I am married. I don't have anything.
Me too.
Oh yeah, I just put this just to look nice when I'm recording.
Well, sure. And you look nice. You too.
And then I remove it afterwards because I don't like any jewelry on me at all.
No.
That's so interesting.
But that's why. Now you know why.
Yeah.
Now you know why. And I used to think it was because my finger got fat and now it's tight. No. It was none of that stuff. It's because they pick up on frequencies.
Yes. Yeah.
My ears are pierced. I never wear earrings.
Yeah, the same. And I wore them. I have so much different things, but
sure,
I just don't feel comfortable.
No.
I just want to remove it.
Yes, but that's why. Now you know why, because it does pick up frequencies.
Yeah. So, and if it picks up frequencies, then what does it do to us? Why do we not feel comfortable with this? It picked up a frequency, so what?
Well, I think they can pick up negative frequencies, low frequencies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so is that going to go into your body and impact you? I think in some way. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the radius would be about how far it would go into your body.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start feeling uncomfortable because you're wearing jewelry, the smart thing to do is take it all off.
Yeah.
Really.
I agree. As a scientist, I always try to understand how does it work and why does it work.
Sure.
Yeah, it does.
But doesn't that make sense? And you're the same way. You stopped wearing jewelry.
Yeah, I did. I don't wear it at all.
And if I get dressed up and I have to put jewelry on, and I go and I open my jewelry boxes, which are basically tackle boxes. That's where I keep my jewelry, is in tackle boxes. And I just look and I go, oh my God, that's gorgeous. And I'm going through the box going, why don't I wear this stuff? And then the light bulb goes on and I go, that's why I don't wear jewelry.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it picks up frequencies and I don't like it. I don't like how it feels.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I understand you very well with that.
Now, a tiara I would wear. If I had a tiara. Tiara, I'd wear a tiara. I went into the dentist's office one time and I had a tiara and they're going, what's with the tiara? And I said, well, the dentist said I needed a crown. They thought that was really funny.
It is. It is. And you mentioned that you communicated a lot with children with autism.
Uh-huh.
What did you learn about them that you didn't know before you started communicating?
Well, this is how I got my start. The only difference was the child that I heard in 1990 was quadriplegic from cerebral palsy and nonverbal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And of course, he had ways of communicating. He could type on the computer. If they put a band on his head that had a pointer and he'd type on the computer that way. But I think that, and I don't mean this in a negative way, just a what is kind of way, is that their communication is very similar to dogs. Because the first thing that a dog will give you is a smell. Mm-hmm. Where's the dog that smells like this? Or where's the person that smells like this? And I always apologize and go, I don't know what they smell like. Mm-hmm. Can you send me how they look? And they'll send me a visual image and I'll go, oh, okay. Yeah, I know who that is. They'll be home later. Or where's the dog that smells like this? And you say, send picture, and they send me a picture of the dog. And I go, okay, that dog we're going to go see later. And then I explain to them that we will go see that dog. And smells is like the first thing that they want to relay. And we're clueless about that. But for a lot of these kids, and I don't want to do just generalizations because each one is so unique and so amazing, but they'll give you a smell and then they'll give you a visual image. Sometimes they'll give you a taste. I want this taste, and you have to figure out what they're talking about. And then they'll send you a feeling. Mm-hmm. And I think with us, a lot of times it's feelings first. That's the first thing we're going to convey. How have you been? Oh, I missed you. There's our feelings, right? And there's no sentences, sentence structure. I don't know how they managed to get it with spelling to talk. Mm-hmm. And I don't know a lot about that. I just know that it works. It's just very, very similar to communicating with dogs because that's their world. World is smell and taste and feeling. And they do share visual images with each other too. They can have whole conversations with no words, but just pictures. They're sending pictures back and forth. And it's fun to kind of get in on those conversations. Yeah. I was working with an autistic child, a boy, a set of twins. Mm-hmm. So I had one boy on the horse and we're going through our stuff that we do because we did vaulting, which is gymnastics on horseback. So you could use the whole horse and they could do all kinds of gymnastics moves on the horse instead of just sitting there for a freaking pony ride, which I thought was ridiculous. Anyway, I can hear him. He's singing the McDonald's jingle. I don't know if you remember the old one. It was, please forgive my singing. I can't sing. McDonald's is your kind of place. And then I hear in the classroom, it's a happy place. And then he goes, a clean and snappy place. And then the other one does the next verse. Mm-hmm. So here's a set of twins. They're hundreds of feet apart because one's on the horse, one's in the classroom. And they're singing jingles back and forth to each other. And the whole thing was their mom told them they were going to go to McDonald's after school. I got that. And the teacher said, yes, she always does. I didn't know, but they're singing the freaking jingle back and forth. And I started laughing. And the teacher's always there with the rest of the kids. What are you laughing at? I said, he's singing the McDonald's jingle, but only every other verse. She goes, what? I said, yeah, his brother's singing the alternating verses. She goes, oh my goodness. She goes, only you would get that. Isn't that something?
That is absolutely amazing.
And they got to where they bring a kid out and they go, he's really fussy this morning. And he's not usually fussy. And I tune into the kid and I go, oh, he's got a cavity. And they go, what? Yeah, he's got a really bad toothache, bottom left. Of course, they open his mouth and he's got a big black hole in one of his teeth. They could see it. Of course, the parent just happened to miss it. And so they were able to get him to a dentist and make him feel good. Isn't that interesting?
It is very interesting. And it's also interesting that you noted that the sensations come first for them.
Yes.
Various bodily sensations.
Not words.
Not words. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a hard thing for them. Words are so abstract.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're talking words about feelings. They're abstract. How are you going to get that?
Mm-hmm.
Even happy. What does that feel like? Sad.
Yeah.
What does that feel like?
Yeah.
Angry. Frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Those words are abstract. So trying to share their feelings, good luck with that.
And you noted that it's a similar communication like we would have with the dogs. Yes, because of the same sensations, they also are prone to sensations.
Yes.
Might this be the reason why people with autism share a deeper connection with animals and are more accepting of them?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I don't know if you know who Temple Grandin is, but there was a movie about her life. And I mean, she just doesn't understand why she can understand what the dog wanted. Everybody else was clueless, and her and that dog carried on conversations, right? And that's why she was so intrinsic in developing ways of handling cattle and horses that were less stressful, much less stressful, because she could feel how stressed they were. She's just really right in the forefront of autism communication and really has really helped in ways that are just unimaginable.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. Please don't write me letters that I compared autistic kids to dogs.
No.
They're not. They're so wonderful. They're so bright. They're so creative. Their communication is the same. Sometimes their communication is the same. It's a scent first, a taste, a feeling, a visual image. And that's exactly how the animals communicate. I mean, I think that was so easy for me to have that first communication with a nonverbal child and then have the suggestion, you ought to learn to communicate with the horses. Okay. I was clueless at the time. Oh my God. And the other thing too that people need to know, I was miserable. I was a miserable person at the time. Oh, in a really bad marriage with an alcoholic, had childhood issues up the yin yang that I didn't even have a clue about, how they were negatively impacting me. I was really a mess when I found this out back in 1990. It has been a journey of healing for me, and it's like, and I know the happier I get, the easier this is, and the more I get, the more information that I get.
Yeah.
And I'm just keep on trucking.
Yeah. And Terri, there is a big step between, first of all, just accidentally or intuitively tuning into certain nonverbal communication and doing this with intention with an animal or another human being. Because like you said, we all from time to time get this message here or there, but to do it with intention is completely different thing.
Oh, I agree. But that's why I've written 3 books on how to do it. And grounding is probably the biggest part. And when I'm working with someone and training them, I can watch them lose their ground. And I tell them, check your ground. And they'll go, what the heck happened? It's gone. And I go, okay, do it again. And they'll work at growing their roots, opening their crown, bringing in the light, tying them together. And it's like, oh God, I feel so much better. And then they can keep working. So grounding is really important. Being able to use visualization with intention is important. And then I think the biggest thing, because our ego gets in the way, is trusting the information that you get. And especially when I get medical and veterinary information, a lot of times I'm clueless. And I hear a word, and like I remember a horse that was colicking but not colicking. That means a bellyache, but it was presenting weird. And I said, the cecum is displacing the spleen. And I went, is that even possible? And sure enough, the cecum had just sort of moved around too much, who knows how or why. And they were able to manipulate it back in place. And then the horse was fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know that stuff. You know what I mean? But you can even hear it and then relay it because, I'm not the one that's there doing that healing work.
Yeah.
I'm just the messenger, so to speak, where I just relay that information and then they can take it from there.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Isn't that weird?
But you are channeling this, so you're open and
yes,
like you said, you should not really doubt yourself, but just speak it out. But if you are afraid of what people will be thinking about you, you will not say it.
No.
And this will get in the way.
Well,
yeah.
And the other thing too is if you're afraid of what people are going to think about it or say about it, you're an ego, easing God out.
Yeah.
And it's a very spiritual, but at the same time, energetic practice. I feel very connected to source energy, very connected. And I live in constant gratitude. I mean, every minute of every day, I'm giving thanks. I think I've probably done it 10 times while we're sitting here talking. I can think of, I said, I gave gratitude for that. Oh, I gave gratitude for that. Oh yeah, I did it again. Always, just always in gratitude. And there's a book called The Science of Getting Rich, which I just love. And it was written in the early 1900s. And it's very badly named. It should be called The Science of Getting Whatever You Want. That's really what it should be called. And in the summary, there's one sentence that I absolutely love. And it says, gratitude unifies the mind of man with the intelligence of substance so that man's thoughts are received by the formless. And it's like, if you want to manifest, that's the way to do it. I just love that. And we already know scientifically gratitude instantly changes brain chemistry. For people that are depressed, all they have to do is go into gratitude every minute. Changes your brain chemistry. It's proven. Isn't that cool?
That's amazing. And what I want to see, what can our listeners do if they want to develop their telepathic abilities? They can read your books. Do you offer any trainings, any courses that they can take as well?
Sure. Right now, I'm just offering private training. My main focus is on development of my television show. So I'm not traveling and doing workshops. If I get 30 people in one area that want to learn this, yeah, I'll be there. But somebody else would have to set that up where I could just show up and do it and do some readings and head back home. So most of my focus is on development of a television show because this stuff needs to get out there. It's too important to help people develop their abilities. It really is. So right now I do private training. There are people sign up for a training. They can come here for private training too. I'm in Northwestern Nevada, so you have to fly into Reno. Anyway, I do the private training and they get all the books. They instantly get an ebook when they register so that they can start practicing ground and actually do the practice. And then I also really try to send energy healing so that they can start raising their own vibration by healing themselves too. But it's really fun. And I have a couple people that I'll call them. And it's really fun because we're on the phone. And I say, can you look at something? I go, sure, let me ground. Then they'll look at something. They'll look at a read or something. And it's so fun to do that. It's peer review. And I'm not sharing anything but like first names. So they don't know who I talk to. There's no breach of confidence or anything like that. They just get the first name and the name of the animals and that kind of thing. And it's amazing because it's like, damn, you're good. Because they're doing it. They're doing it. They're really doing it. And here's the thing. It wouldn't matter how much I wanted other people to learn how to do this. If this wasn't real, if this wasn't something that we have innately within ourselves, then it wouldn't matter how much I tried to teach it. They wouldn't get it. These are not gifts. And if you do this, you're not special. This is something that everyone can do as long as they don't have like severe cognitive issues.
And Terri, through your practice, what surprised you the most in your telepathy work?
I'm surprised every day. Every single freaking day I'm surprised. Because I'll get stuff and it comes out of my mouth and my logical brain is going, oh, that can't be right. My mouth is just going. I'm just channeling information. And so I kind of go, I said that? That can't be right. I mean, seriously, at the 35 years of doing this, I still question it. But I share the information and then the reaction from my clients is just off the charts. Oh my God, how can you know that? That's amazing. And I don't need that. It's really interesting. You don't want approval because if you crave and want approval, again, that's ego. And so the criticism doesn't bother you either. If somebody goes, well, you were wrong about that. Oh, sorry, I did my best. I did. But it doesn't bother you because if you're going to accept approval and accolades, then you're going to have to accept criticism. And you can't in this. There's so many people, I tell them stuff and they're just not in the right place to accept it yet. A couple months down the road, they call me back. Oh my God, remember what you told me? And of course I go, no, because I don't remember. Well, you told me this and I didn't believe it and I didn't feel it and I didn't even think it was right. Now this has happened and oh my God, you were spot on. So isn't that cool?
It is absolutely cool. And one thing I got very curious about, because that's the topic that interests me for many years, it's twins.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Because you mentioned that story about twins.
Always. Always.
And people are talking that there is always a connection between twins. You notice that?
Oh, goodness, yes. And the twin studies are really what has proven beyond a doubt the telepathic connection.
Mm-hmm.
The twins has proven the telepathic connection, that they're definitely telepath.
Yes. So how do they communicate between each other? Of course, you talked about one example.
Right.
And what do you think makes that connection so strong that allows them to communicate?
Well, with twins, they're the exact same DNA.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking down to the cellular level. They're identical. Everything is the same with them. They're going to establish a connection in the womb sometime after the 5th month when they get their souls or spirits. And I think is real interesting about where they get their souls or spirits. They could have been one person that decided to go into 2 bodies. One person that passed is reincarnating, but the one person is going into 2 bodies. We have to remember this about reincarnation is you can put 10 spirits in one body, 1 spirit in 10 bodies. There's no limits to it. So I think it could be one person that's split into 2 bodies easily, spirit-wise. Of course, physically we know how that split happens in order for them to become twins. So they just have a connection that we all lack that we can develop, though.
And you also talk about reincarnations and that you can see them. I watched one of your interviews and you were able to say that, oh, that cat, he was with you in previous reincarnations and now he is with you.
Yes.
How do you see that? How does this information come to you?
Oh, that's such a good question. It's really interesting. I lost 3 dogs in 4 years and they were all teenagers, late teenagers. But, when their quality is gone, you got to let them go. And then I think I waited a month or 2 and got this male dog and let him know what his name was and showed him the ropes around the ranch. And then I heard about this other dog that was an owner surrender, and her name was Daisy. Well, our place is called Daisy Hill Halflingers. And I thought, oh, she's meant for us. What's so interesting is the 3 dogs that I had lost in the previous 4 years, all of those spirits are in both of these dogs. I mean, they both do very, very unique things that the other 3 did. And so there's no doubt in my mind that I got all 3 of those spirits back. And I think I probably got a couple other ones that I lost in previous years too. The thing is that usually the animal will tell me, what's the big deal? I need to stay with her. They'll say, I need to come back. She's high maintenance. They'll tell me things like that. I have to tell her when to get up and when to feed me and when to take me for a walk and when to clean my litter box. And I have to tell her all this stuff. So I need to have a physical body so I can come back and do that. And it's amazing how they stay with us, whether we're aware of it because they're non-physical, or we might not even be aware that we lose a dog, we get another dog, and the spirit of the one that died walks into or is in the one that we pick up, the new dog that we get. So they always try to stay with us. As long as we're good people. I think there's cases where if a dog was in an abusive situation and then is rescued, it's going to go back to the rescuer, not the original owner. I'm sure of that.
Yes. And I have one more question, and it's about new technologies that people are developing right now. Those technologies allow to pick up the brain signal from our brain. And if we want to say something, we can pick up that signal and we can actually translate it into speech. And these experiments are going. It's to help people who cannot speak. I wouldn't say it's a telepathy, but it's a new way to approach this process of communication without really saying anything, but translating directly thoughts into words.
I think for nonverbal people to be able to communicate that way is phenomenal. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I've got kind of a bad taste in my mouth about AI because I've been allowing people to record their readings. And I had a new client record the reading, and then they used AI to change what I said.
Yeah.
And I sounded like a freaking idiot. And that is posted on YouTube. And luckily, I had 2 clients alert me to it. They said, Terri, it's your voice, but it's not your words. There's nothing I can do about it. And so that BS is out there. If somebody else just was scanning through YouTube looking for my stuff, they might stumble upon that. And that ain't me. So I'm not real happy with AI right now.
And I understand you. But like everything, it can be used for good and for.
Exactly. And you wonder, do they just not have anything to do? Are they just evil? Are they just trying to hurt people? What's their purpose? And then all I can think about is, I wonder if it's another animal communicator that's jealous of the work I get or something. Well, if they're jealous, they're not a very good animal communicator.
Right now, there is so much going on and people are trying to do things, but there will be restrictions. For example, I worked with one program where I was creating my own voice so that I can use it for podcast, but they have a check. So if I record this, then they need to see my video and to hear me recording that it's me. So I need to attest that it's me. I cannot use anybody else's voice.
Right.
And this, I think, will become more and more strict, that only you can reproduce your voice with AI.
I would hope there'd be some kind of restrictions on it, because it's just not appropriate and it's harmful. And I only wish good and positive stuff for everybody, not just my clients. Even a certain politician, I don't wish him ill, even though he's insane. People say, you shouldn't hate him. I go, I don't hate him. Just feel sorry for him and terrified of what he's doing. But I only wish good for my clients. And I want them to be happy, healthy, and abundant by using these tools, because they work and they can be happy, healthy, and abundant if they do this stuff. That's where I'm coming from. That's my intention, and setting my intention for my clients.
And you mentioned that you are creating this TV program.
Yes, I'm working on it.
Can you give us a sneak peek? What can we expect from it?
Well, I think there'll be little bits and pieces of my life, messing with my horses and dogs, living in this gorgeous valley. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. And then actually going out and doing readings in person on animals. And then what happens very often is I'm given guidance that we need to work on something that the person has a problem with. And so I end up pivoting to the human, and that may end up being the gist of the show, is how much it changes or impacts the humans, even though the animals are kind of the hook to get us in the door. So that's kind of what we're working on. And I've had some really great responses from producers that I pitched it to, and just waiting for the right time. We're actually going forward to try to do our own YouTube show. That way we maintain complete control over it.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go for sure. And
yes, me too.
And it also will inspire more people to do this type of work. And how do you see this world where more and more people start communicating telepathically?
You know, there's going to be a lot less BS, because when you become good at this and you're out of your own way, you become a human lie detector. And you can tell that somebody's going to lie to you before they even open their mouth. And you can stop them. You can say, hey, I know where you're trying to go with this. Just take a breath. Let's try this again. And so it's like if I go into a car dealership to buy a vehicle, they'll say, we're into this X amount of dollars. And I'll look at them and go, no, you're only into it this many dollars. And they who are you and how do you know that? Well, I got it intuitively. What? Yeah, I got it intuitively that you're only into it this much. So we're happy to pay this price. And I've gotten vehicles that way because I basically caught them in a lie. And they still want the sale, but they're just not going to make as much money off of me. So it's pretty fun to do that stuff.
Yes. And Terri, can you mention your books? What are their names and where our listeners can find them so that they can start this journey of developing their abilities?
All of my books are available on my website. And my website is just my name. It's terrijay.com. And you can purchase the books there. The first book that I wrote is called The Cowgirl Shaman Way, 7 Easy Steps to Develop Your Intuitive Ability. And it's really a fun book, and it teaches you how to do this, and it shows you all the different ways that you can use it. It's just kind of a complete book on all of my work. The second book I wrote, I did not want to write. And guidance was like, you have to write this one. I went, all right, I'll write it. And it's called Intuitive Communication, Communicating with Those Who Cannot. And of course, the sales on it have really spiked because it can teach you how to communicate with nonverbal autistic kids. And then the third book I wrote, I really wanted to get the woo-woo out of mediumship. And it's called The Physics of Mediumship. And I wanted the subtitle to be Cut the Woo-Woo Crap. And my publisher said, no, let's not do that. And I thought, oh, okay. And then after he read the book like the third time, he said, oh, yeah, it should be on there. And so him and I went back and forth. I said, no, you were right. It's just going to be Physics of Mediumship. Because I want to take the woo-woo out of it. I want to show how this is scientific stuff. So that's the third one. And right now I'm working on the dog communication book, and then I'm going to do the horse communication book, and then the cat communication book, and then 2 novels, which I'm going to turn into screenplays. That's my workload for the next, I don't know how long.
That's amazing. Of course, I wish you all the best. With that, we'll be watching over what you are doing, following you, and I'm sure our listeners as well, because it's fascinating everything you do.
Yes, ma'am.
And one more question. Of course, we covered so many different things, but maybe there is something that we haven't covered, and you still want to share it with our listeners.
I think I touched on it a little bit, but the biggest thing is energy healing for health issues. You don't throw the baby out the window with the bathwater. You don't abandon allopathic medicine. But you need to understand diseases, issues in the tissues. It's caused by stuck negative emotions. And that only makes sense if you realize that we are 99% an energy being. And so your cells are going to respond to your emotions. I mean, you have to think about how you feel when you first fall in love. Your feet don't even touch the ground versus how you feel when you're grieving, where you feel like you've got cement shoes on. And so it's very important to really look at energy healing. It's free. You can learn to do it for yourself, and it can make a huge difference in your healing process. I think it's one of the things that I work a lot with my clients, because I spy the disease when they're having a reading on their horse. It's like, oh, we need to talk about you. So I think that's the best thing. And the other thing too, if you want readings, I'm really cheap. It's 50 and 90 half hour. And I do them by phone all over the world. You can sign up. My calendar's on my website. And I'd be honored to help you. I'd really be honored to help you.
Thank you so much, Terri. Excellent conversation. Learned so much. Want to learn even more. Thank you. Wishing you all possible success, and looking forward to what's coming from you in the future.
Thank you so much.
Dear listeners, I hope you found our Magical Professions podcast episode insightful. As we concluded, I'd like to extend a heartfelt invitation to all of you. Your stories, encounters, and knowledge are invaluable to us, and we want you to be a part of this mystical journey. Have you ever had a brush with a magical profession, a strange encounter, or stumbled upon hidden knowledge? Do you possess ancient scrolls, widespread tales, or first hand experiences that you believe belong in the spotlight? Are you aware of a sci fi or fantasy book or a movie with magical professionals in it? We want to hear from you. At Magical Professions, we cherish the power of collective wisdom and the magic of shared experiences. So don't be shy. Reach out to us with your stories, sources, or any information about magical professions you would like to share. You can connect with us via email at magicalprofessions@gmail.com or through our social media channels. Your contribution could become the heart of a future episode, and together we'll weave an even richer tapestry of wonder. Thank you for joining us on this mystical journey. Remember, the magic is not just in the stories we tell, but in the connections we make. Until next time, keep the magic alive, and may your world be ever more enchanting. I can't wait to hear from you.